In that hall, surrounded by centuries of vampire aristocracy, she didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't breathe. The ancient blood vampire leaned across the table, wine-soaked arrogance dripping from every word, and said the thing that would end him. Who invited the half-blood mongrel? The room went silent, not the polite kind. The kind that happens right before someone stops existing. Her name was Kirsten Madden, and if you'd asked anyone in that room 30 seconds earlier, they would have told you she was nobody. A quiet guest. Half human, half vampire. Didn't belong to either world. But here's the thing about prophecies. They didn't care what you think you know. For 300 years, the vampire elders had been waiting for the one. The prophesied vampire queen lord, the bloodline meant to deliver humanity from the wicked and restore balance to a world drowning in fang and shadow. And they'd been searching, scouring bloodlines, testing every half-breed they could find, chasing whispers and rumors and ancient texts written in languages older than empires. But she'd been sitting right there the whole time, at the end of the table, silent, observing. And Alonzo Thompson, ancient blood, 3 centuries of unquestioned dominance, had just made the worst mistake of his very long life. He mocked her. Before we go any further, if you want to see how this prophecy twists in ways no one saw coming, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what happens next isn't just revenge. It's the beginning of something that's going to tear both worlds apart. And trust me, you're going to want to be here for it. So now the question isn't whether the prophecy is real. The question is whether anyone survives what happens next. Because in 3 seconds, Kirsten Madden is going to speak. And when she does, the entire vampire world is going to realize they've been waiting for judgment. And judgment just arrived. The Feast of Shadows wasn't a celebration. It was a trial. Every vampire who mattered sat in that gothic cathedral hall, candlelight carving their faces into something between divine and demonic. The wine was older than most nations. The table stretched long enough to seat grudges that had festered for centuries, and at the far end, barely visible through the haze of smoke and flickering flame, sat Kirsten Madden. She hadn't been invited. But she'd come anyway. Eliezer John presided from the head of the table, his white hair flowing like a waterfall of bone. 300 years old. Maybe older. No one asked anymore. His voice carried the weight of law when he spoke, which wasn't often. Tonight, he watched. That was worse. To his left sat Juliet Kirsch, the matriarch who'd spent 2 lifetimes ensuring no woman would ever hold real power in the vampire world. She wore her cruelty like jewelry. Every glance was an appraisal. Every word a calculated cut. To his right, Dejan Cervantes whispered something into the ear of Alonzo Thompson. Alonzo. Ancient blood. Old European lineage. The kind of vampire who'd watched empires fall and learned nothing from it except that power was a birthright, not something earned. He leaned back in his chair now, wineglass balanced between 2 fingers, surveying the room like a king who'd forgotten what it felt like to fear anything. His eyes landed on Kirsten, and he smiled. Not the kind that meant warmth, the kind that meant prey. Across the table, Khalil Boyles shifted in his seat. He was younger than most here, only turned 70 years ago. Still asked questions the elders had stopped asking centuries back. He'd been staring at Kirsten since she arrived. Something unreadable behind his eyes. Recognition, maybe. Or dread. Blakey sat beside him, loyal to Alonzo, in the way dogs are loyal to the hand that feeds them. But even Blake looked uncomfortable now. He kept glancing at Kirsten, then away, like staring too long might burn. Kirsten hadn't moved, hadn't touched her wine, hadn't spoken. She just sat there, half human, half vampire, a walking contradiction in a world that hated contradictions. Her blonde hair pulled back tight, her expression unreadable, her silence so loud it made the candles flicker. Juliet Kirsch leaned toward Eliezer. Why is she here? Eliezer didn't answer. Because he didn't know, and that terrified him more than he'd ever admit. Alonzo set his wine glass down. The sound echoed. Conversations died. Every head turned. He stood, slowly, deliberately, the way predators move when they want you to know they're not afraid of you. He walked down the length of the table, each step a declaration. When he reached Kirsten, he stopped, leaned down, close enough that his breath should have made her flinch. She didn't. "Who invited the half-blood mongrel?" he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Loud enough to make it clear this wasn't a question, it was a performance. Juliet Kirsch smiled. Dejan Cervantes chuckled. Blake G. looked away. Khalil Boyles went pale. And Kirsten Madden, for the first time all night, lifted her gaze. Her eyes weren't angry. They weren't afraid. They were the kind of calm you see in the eye of a hurricane, the kind that makes you realize the storm hasn't hit yet. It's just been waiting. She didn't say anything. Not yet, but the air in that hall turned cold. Not vampire cold, something older. Something that made even the eldest blood in the room feel suddenly, violently mortal. Alonso's smile faltered, just for a second, and in that second everyone watching understood. He'd just made a mistake. The kind you don't come back from. 3 years earlier, in a crumbling library on the edge of human territory, Brenton found it. The prophecy. He wasn't looking for it. He'd been researching grain treaties of all things, trying to figure out why certain human settlements had survived vampire raids when others hadn't. Boring work. Safe work. Then he pulled the wrong book. Or maybe the right one. It was bound in something that wasn't leather. Didn't smell like parchment. When he opened it, the pages didn't crinkle. They whispered. The text was old. Older than Latin. Older than the vampire houses themselves. And it said this: "When the blood of two worlds flows as one, the silent throne shall wake. She who walks between fang and flesh shall rise, neither human nor beast, and in her hands shall rest the choice, deliver the broken world or break it beyond repair." Brenton read it 17 times. Then he closed the book. Then he opened it again, just to make sure he hadn't imagined it. He hadn't. He told William Redding first, the human elder, the one who'd survived 3 vampire purges and learned to trust nothing. William laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was easier than believing. "You think some half-breed is going to save us?" William said. "We've been waiting for salvation for 200 years, boy. It doesn't come. It never does." Brenton didn't argue. He just kept the book and kept searching. Because the prophecy had a second part. A part that had been torn out. Burned, maybe. Hidden deliberately. He spent 3 years looking for it. Never found it. But he found her. Kirsten Madden, half human, half vampire. Born in a settlement that no longer existed. Raised by no one. Belonged to nothing. And when he saw her, standing alone at the edge of a ruined church, staring at the horizon like she was waiting for something she couldn't name, he knew. The prophecy wasn't a story, it was a countdown, and it had just started. Back in the Gothic hall, Kirsten still hadn't spoken. Alonso was still leaning over her, his mockery hanging in the air like a blade waiting to drop. And Khalil Boyles, sitting 3 seats down, finally understood why he recognized her. He'd seen her face in the old texts, carved into the walls of the first vampire catacombs. Not as a warning, as an inevitability. He wanted to say something, warn someone, tell Alonso to sit down, shut up, apologize, anything. But his throat had gone dry, because Kirsten's eyes had shifted. Not in color, in weight. Like staring into them was the same as staring into a grave you hadn't dug yet. Juliet Kirsch noticed it too. Her smile vanished. She straightened in her chair, fingers tightening around her wineglass. Eleazar John leaned forward. Even Dejan Cervantes stopped whispering. Because the room had gone silent again. But this time, it wasn't the silence of anticipation. It was the silence of recognition. The kind that happens when an entire room realizes they've been wrong about something fundamental. Something that's about to cost them everything. Alonso felt it too. He stepped back, just half a step, but it was enough. Kirsten stood. Slowly, the way mountains rise, and when she finally spoke, her voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. "You've been waiting centuries for me," she said. Every word a nail. "And yet, you still don't recognize judgment when it sits across from you." The candles went out. Not all at once, one by one. Like something was walking through the room, snuffing them as it passed, and in the darkness the only thing anyone could see were Kirsten Madden's eyes. Glowing, silver, when the candles came back. No one knew how. They just did, flickering, weak, like they were afraid to burn too bright. Alonzo Thompson was still standing, but his arrogance had cracked, not shattered, not yet, but cracked enough that everyone could see the fault lines. Kirsten sat back down, calmly, like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just made every vampire in that hall question whether they were predator or prey. Eliezer John's hands were flat on the table. Steady, but his knuckles were white. "Kirsten Madden," he said. His voice didn't waver. It couldn't afford to. "You claim to be the one spoken of in the old texts." "I don't claim anything," Kirsten said. "I just am." Juliet Kirsch laughed, sharp, bitter. "You're a half-breed with delusions. We've seen dozens like you. They all burned." "Then light the match," Kirsten said. Silence. Juliet didn't move. Dejan Cervantes leaned forward. "If you're truly the prophesied Queen Lord, prove it. Show us something more than parlor tricks and silver eyes." Kirsten tilted her head. "You want proof?" "We demand it," Eliezer said. She stood again. This time, every vampire in the room tensed. Kirsten walked to the center of the hall, where the old relic sat. The thorn-bound chalice. Forged in the first wars between humans and vampires. Dipped in the blood of the original Queen Lords. Legend said only the true heir could touch it without burning. Every other half-breed who tried had been reduced to ash. Juliet Kirsch smiled. "Go ahead, child. Touch it. Let's see what you really are." Kirsten reached out. Her fingers hovered over the chalice, and for just a moment she hesitated. Not because she was afraid, but because once she touched it, there was no going back. The prophecy would be real, the burden would be hers, and everyone in this room would either kneel or try to kill her. She wondered, briefly, if there were people watching this moment somehow. People beyond this hall. People who needed to see what happened next. People who understood that some choices don't just change one life. They rewrite entire worlds. Maybe they were out there. Maybe they were holding their breath, the same way everyone in this hall was holding theirs. Maybe they understood that what was about to happen wasn't just her story. It was theirs too. She touched the chalice. The room held its breath, and the chalice ignited. Not with fire, with light, silver light, blinding, pure. It shot up through the hall like a pillar, carving through the darkness, through the stone, through centuries of lies and buried truth. And when it faded, Kirsten was still standing, unburned, unbroken. The chalice in her hand, glowing softly now like it had been waiting for her all along. Alonzo staggered back. Juliet Kirsch's face went white. Cull Boyles whispered, "She's real." Eliezer John closed his eyes. And Kirsten Madden, the prophesied vampire Queen Lord, set the chalice back down. "There's your proof," she said. Then she walked back to her seat, sat down, and waited. Because the real question wasn't whether she was the one. The real question was whether they'd let her live long enough to finish what the prophecy started. The emergency council session convened in the Chamber of Echoes, stone walls, no windows. Voices bounced and twisted until you couldn't tell who said what. Perfect for politicians who wanted deniability. Eliezer John sat at the head of the circular table. To his right, Juliet Kirsch. To his left, Julian Aviles, the diplomat who'd spent centuries perfecting the art of saying nothing with many words. Dejon Cervantes stood near the door, arms crossed. He wasn't counsel, but Alonso had sent him. A reminder that ancient blood still had teeth. Alonso himself hadn't come. Too humiliated, or too smart. "We cannot accept this," Juliet said. Her voice was ice wrapped in silk. The chalice responded, "Fine. That proves she has power. It doesn't prove she's the one." "The chalice hasn't responded to anyone in 300 years, Eleazar said quietly. "Then perhaps it's broken," Juliet snapped. Julian Avils cleared his throat. "With respect, Matriarch Hirsch, denying what we all witnessed won't make it untrue. The question isn't whether she's powerful. The question is what we do now that she's revealed herself." "We kill her," Dejon said from the doorway. Every head turned. He shrugged. "You're all thinking it. I'm just saying it. She's a threat. Half-breeds don't lead. They don't rule. They certainly don't get to claim the thorn-bound chalice and walk out alive." "She already walked out alive," Khalil Boyle said. He'd been quiet until now, sitting at the edge of the circle. Young, idealistic, stupid, according to most of the elders. "That was a mistake," Dejon said. "No," Khalil said, standing. "Letting Alonso mock her was the mistake. Underestimating her was the mistake. And if you try to kill her now, you'll make the biggest mistake of all." Juliet's eyes narrowed. "Careful, boy. You sound like you're choosing sides." "I'm choosing survival," Khalil said. "Because if she's real and you go to war with her, we lose. All of us." Eleazar raised a hand. Silence fell. "The prophecy speaks of balance," he said, "of delivering humanity from our wicked blood, of restoring order. If Kirsten Madden is truly the Queen Lord, then she is meant to end us." "Then we end her first," Juliet said. "And if we fail?" Julian asked. No one answered, because they all knew. If they tried to kill her and failed, it wouldn't just be embarrassing. It would be extinction. Eleazar folded his hands. "We will test her further. If she is the prophesied one, she will pass. If she is an imposter, she will fall. Either way, we will know." "And if she passes?" Khalil asked. Eleazar met his eyes. "Then we pray she's merciful." Meanwhile, in the human territories, the news had already spread. Dane stood in the war room, fists pressed against the table, staring at a map that didn't matter anymore. "She touched the chalice," Alicia Ellison said. She stood by the window, arms crossed. Her voice was steady, but her jaw was tight. "The vampires are confirming it. She's real. She's half vampire," Xander spat. He paced near the door, hand on his sword hilt. "That makes her one of them." "She's also half human," Colleen said quietly. "The farmer, the one who'd sheltered refugees when no one else would. That makes her one of us, does it?" Alicia turned. "Because from where I'm standing, she's a weapon. And weapons don't choose sides. They get used." Dane finally looked up. "We've been waiting for someone to stop the vampires for decades, and now she's here. And you want to reject her?" "I want to survive," Alicia said. "And trusting a half-vampire Queen Lord to save us, that's not survival. That's suicide." "So what do we do?" Dane asked. Alicia's eyes went cold. "We watch, we wait, and if she comes for us the way the prophecy says she will, we make sure we're ready to put her down." Colleen stood. "She's not our enemy. Not yet," Alicia said. Back in the vampire stronghold, Kirsten sat alone in the room they'd given her. Stone walls, one window, iron bars, not a guest room, a cell. She didn't care. She'd expected this. Adrian slipped through the door. He moved like smoke, tall, dark hair, eyes that had seen too much and learned to hide it. "You should leave," he said. "Tonight, before they decide killing you is worth the risk." Kirsten didn't look at him. "I'm not leaving. They're planning something. Juliet, Dejon, maybe even Eleazar. They won't let you claim the throne without a fight." "Good," Kirsten said. "I don't want it to be easy." Adrian stared at her. "You don't understand. If they move against you, it won't be a fair fight. It'll be an execution." Kirsten finally turned. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. "Let them try." Adrian exhaled slowly. "You really are the one, aren't you?" She didn't answer, because the truth was, she still didn't know. The chalice had responded. The prophecy had said her name. But deep down, in the part of her that was still human, still afraid, still mortal, she wondered if being the one meant she was chosen or cursed. The human resistance met in an old church. Ironic, considering churches hadn't meant anything in over a century. No divine intervention. No answered prayers. Just stone and silence. Dane stood at the front. Around him sat 24 leaders from settlements across the human territories. Farmers, soldiers, scholars, survivors. Alicia Ellison stood beside him, arms crossed, face unreadable. "We've confirmed it," Dane said. "Kirsten Madden is the prophesied vampire queen lord. She touched the thorn-bound chalice and survived. The vampires are in chaos. Some want to kill her. Some want to follow her." "And us?" asked Shamar, a village protector from the northern settlements. "What do we want?" "That's why we're here," Dane said. "We should kill her," Xander said, leaning forward. His scar ran from temple to jaw, a gift from a vampire raid 5 years back. "Before she gets too strong, before she decides humanity isn't worth saving." "She's half human," Colleen said. "That has to mean something. It means she's half monster." Xander shot back. "Enough," Alicia said. Her voice cut through the room. "This isn't about what she is. It's about what she'll do. And the prophecy says she'll deliver humanity from the vampires. So maybe, just maybe, we let her." "Or," said William Redding, the human elder, "the prophecy is a lie. A trap, and we're walking right into it." Brenton stood, the scholar. The one who'd found the prophecy in the first place. "The prophecy isn't a lie," he said. "But it's not complete either. There's a second half. Something the vampire elders hid. I've been searching for it for 3 years. And?" Dan asked. "I haven't found it," Brenton admitted. "But I know it exists, and I know it changes everything." "How?" Alicia demanded. Brenton hesitated. "Because every reference to the Queen Lord mentions a cost, a sacrifice, something she has to give up to fulfill the prophecy." "What kind of sacrifice?" Shamar asked. "I don't know," Brenton said. "But I think it's the reason the elders have been terrified of her for centuries, because whatever she has to do to save us, it's going to hurt. And not just her." The room went quiet. Then Xander spoke. "So we're supposed to trust the half-vampire with a prophecy that might destroy us all? That's insane." "Maybe," Dane said. "But what's the alternative? Keep hiding? Keep running? We've been doing that for 200 years, and we're still dying." Alicia stepped forward. "I've seen what vampires do. I've buried children. I've watched settlements burn. And I will not trade one monster for another." She turned to face the room. "Kirsten Madden may be prophesied. She may be powerful. But until she proves she's on our side, we treat her as a threat. We will not kneel to her. We will not follow her. And if she comes for us, we will be ready." Half the room nodded. The other half looked uncertain, and Colleen, sitting in the back, whispered to herself, "She's not the monster. We are." Because somewhere in all of this, people needed to understand something, needed to see that fear makes you do terrible things. That survival isn't the same as living. That sometimes the person you're most afraid of is the only one who can save you. And maybe, just maybe, those people were paying attention now. Watching this moment. Realizing that Kirsten Madden wasn't just fighting vampires. She was fighting human fear. And that was harder to kill than any ancient blood. Outside Claire, the little girl Colleen had been sheltering, pressed her face against the window. She'd heard everything. And she whispered into the dark, "Is she the monster or the one who stops them?" No one answered, but somewhere, Kirsten Madden felt the question. It didn't know the answer either. Because somewhere in all of this, people needed to understand something. Needed to see that fear makes you do terrible things. That survival isn't the same as living. That sometimes the person you're most afraid of is the only one who can save you. And maybe, just maybe, those people were paying attention now, watching this moment. Realizing that Kirsten Madden wasn't just fighting vampires, she was fighting human fear. And that was harder to kill than any ancient blood. If you're one of those people, if you see where this is heading and you need to know how it ends, make sure you're following this story. Because what happens next isn't just about prophecies and power. It's about whether anyone, human or vampire, survives the choice she's about to make. Alonzo Thompson hadn't slept. Vampires didn't need sleep. But they craved rest, the quiet, the stillness. He'd had none of it. Because every time he closed his eyes, he saw her. Kirsten Madden, standing there, calm, untouchable, holding the chalice that should have burned her to ash. He'd mocked her, in front of everyone, and she'd made him look like a fool. Worse, she'd made him look mortal. His chambers were dark. Velvet curtains blocked out even the moonlight. He sat in a chair older than most governments, staring at nothing. Dejan Cervantes entered without knocking. "We have a problem," Dejan said. "I know," Alonzo muttered. "No, a bigger one." Dejan tossed a letter onto the table. 3 lesser houses have already pledged loyalty to her. They're calling her the true Queen Lord. Saying the old blood has failed. Alonzo's jaw tightened. And the council? Divided. Eliezer wants to test her further. Juliet wants her dead. Julian's playing both sides like always. "And you?" Alonzo asked. Dejan met his eyes. "I want to survive. And right now survival means making sure she doesn't take the throne." Alonzo stood. Slowly. His hands shook. Not from fear, from rage. "I've ruled for 3 centuries," he said. "I've crushed rebellions, I've ended bloodlines, I've watched empires fall and rebuilt them in my image. And now some half-blood child with glowing eyes thinks she can take it all away? She already has," Dejan said. "The moment she touched that chalice, she won. The only question now is whether we let her keep it." Alonzo turned. "What are you suggesting?" Dejan smiled. "Remington." Alonzo went still. Remington. The name itself was a weapon. Vampire assassin. 300 kills. No failures. "He doesn't work cheap," Alonzo said. "You're not cheap," Dejan replied. "And this isn't about money. This is about making sure the old blood doesn't become extinct." Alonzo stared at the letter on the table. 3 houses pledging loyalty to Kirsten. 3. In one night. "Contact him," Alonzo said quietly. Dejan nodded and turned to leave. "Dejan," Alonzo called. Dejan stopped. "Make sure he understands. I don't want her captured. I don't want her humiliated. I want her humiliated. I want her erased." Dejan's smile widened. "Consider it done." In another part of the stronghold, Blake Keyes sat alone. He'd been loyal to Alonzo for decades. Owed him everything. His turning, his position, his survival. But tonight, sitting in the dark, wine untouched, he couldn't stop thinking about Kirsten's eyes. The way they glowed. Not with malice. With certainty. Blake had been at the feast when Alonzo mocked her. He'd laughed. Everyone had. But when the chalice ignited, when that silver light filled the hall, something inside Blake had cracked, because he'd realized something. Alonzo was afraid. And if Alonzo was afraid, that meant Kirsten was real. And if Kirsten was real, that meant everything Blake had believed for decades was wrong. The old blood wasn't eternal. It was dying. And maybe it deserved to. He didn't know what to do with that thought. So he did nothing. Just sat there. And waited for the world to end. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the stronghold, Remington received his contract. He read it once, then burned it. He didn't need it. He'd already memorized the target. Kirsten Madden, half human, half vampire, prophesied Queen Lord. He'd killed gods before, or at least things that thought they were gods. This would be no different. He checked his blades, silver-edged, blessed in blood from the first wars. He checked his routes, 3 exits, 2 kill zones. He checked his timing. Dawn was 6 hours away. She'd be alone by then, and alone was all he needed. He didn't care about prophecies, didn't care about politics. He cared about the contract, and the contract said she dies, so she would. He slipped into the dark, silent, inevitable, and somewhere in her cell, Kirsten Madden opened her eyes. She didn't know why, but she felt it. Something was coming, something that didn't care about destiny, only death. The catacombs beneath the stronghold were older than the vampires themselves, human-built. Back when humans thought they could hide from the dark, they were wrong. Kirsten walked alone through the tunnels. Stone walls pressed in on both sides. Torches flickered. Shadows danced like they had something to hide. She wasn't supposed to be down here, but she'd felt it calling. Something in the dark. Something old. Adrian had warned her. Stay in your chambers. The council is meeting. They're deciding your fate. She'd smiled. They already decided, they just don't know it yet. Now surrounded by centuries of bone and dust, she wondered if confidence was the same as stupidity. The air changed. Colder. Sharper. She stopped. You can come out, she said to the dark. Remington stepped into the torchlight. Tall. Lean. Eyes like dead stars. He wore no armor. Didn't need it. His blades were enough. Silver-edged. Old magic. The kind that didn't care if you were prophesied or not. Kirsten Madden, he said. His voice was flat. Professional. You've been contracted. By Alonzo, she said. Does it matter? Not really. Remington tilted his head. You're not afraid. Should I be? Most are. Right before the end. Kirsten's eyes glowed faintly. I'm not most. I know, Remington said. That's why they paid extra. He moved. Faster than thought. Blade aimed for her throat. She twisted, not fast enough. The blade caught her shoulder. Blood sprayed against the stone wall. Silver. Her blood glowed silver. Remington froze. Just for a second, that second saved her life. She drove her palm into his chest. No weapon. Just force. He flew backward, hit the wall, cracked stone. He was up before the dust settled. You're strong, he said, wiping blood from his mouth. Stronger than you should be. I've heard that before, Kirsten said. Her shoulder burned. The wound wasn't healing. Silver did that. Stopped regeneration. Made you mortal. Remington saw it, smiled. You bleed like the rest of us, he said. Everyone bleeds, Kirsten replied. He came at her again. This time, she was ready. Blade met bone. Her forearm. She screamed, not from pain, from rage. She caught his wrist, twisted, bone snapped. Remington didn't flinch. He dropped the blade, caught it with his other hand, drove it toward her heart. She moved, not away, into him. The blade pierced her side instead of her chest. Agony. White-hot. Blinding. But she was close now. Close enough to grab his throat. Her hand glowed. Silver light. Pure. Burning. Remington's eyes went wide. What are you? He gasped. The end, Kirsten said. She threw him. Not across the room. Through the wall. Stone exploded. Dust filled the air. When it cleared, Remington was on the ground, coughing blood. He tried to stand. Couldn't. Kirsten walked toward him, limping. Blood dripped from her shoulder, her side, her arm. She was a mess. But she was standing, and he wasn't. You failed, she said. Remington laughed. Wet, broken. No, I just learned something. What? He met her eyes. You're not unbeatable. You're just new. And new things break easy. New things break easy. She knelt beside him. You gonna tell Alonzo that? I'm not gonna tell anyone anything, Remington said, because you're going to kill me. Kirsten stared at him. Then she stood and walked away. What are you doing? Remington called after her. Letting you live, she said without turning. Why? She stopped. Because I'm not what they think I am. Not yet. She disappeared into the dark. Remington lay there. Broken, bleeding, and for the first time in 300 years, he didn't understand the contract. Because she should have killed him. Any ruler would have. But she hadn't, and that scared him more than dying ever could. Kirsten emerged from the catacombs just before dawn. Adrian was waiting. His eyes went to her wounds. What happened? Alonzo sent an assassin, she said, and he failed. Adrian exhaled. You need a healer. I need answers, Kirsten said. The prophecy. The second half. You know something. Adrian went still. Tell me, she said. He looked away. Not here. Then where? Somewhere they can't hear us. They can hear us everywhere. Adrian met her eyes. Not in the Forgotten Chamber. The place the first Queen Lords were crowned. It's been sealed for centuries. Then unseal it, Kirsten said. If I do, the council will know. Good, Kirsten said. Let them know. Let them see I'm not hiding anymore. Adrian stared at her, blood-soaked, wounded, glowing. And he realized something. She wasn't becoming the Queen Lord. She already was. They just hadn't accepted it yet. The Forgotten Chamber was exactly that. Forgotten Chamber was exactly that. Forgotten, buried beneath layers of stone and spellwork, sealed by the first council 300 years ago when the last Queen Lord fell. Adrian stood before the door, hands pressed against ancient runes. This is going to hurt, he muttered. Everything hurts, Kirsten said. He whispered words older than language. The runes glowed, red, then gold, then something darker. The door cracked open. Inside, the air was thick, heavy, like breathing history. The walls were covered in carvings, faces, battles, prophecies written in blood, and in the center of the room, a single pedestal. On it, a scroll. Kirsten walked toward it. Her wounds still bled. Silver light dripped onto the stone floor. Adrian followed. Kirsten, before you read it, you need to know something. She didn't stop. What? The reason the elders hid this. It's not because they were afraid of you. It's because they were afraid for you. She reached the pedestal. I don't need their pity. It's not pity, Adrian said. It's grief. Kirsten picked up the scroll. It was warm, like it had been waiting. She unrolled it. The words burned into her mind. The Queen Lord shall rise, blood of two worlds, and in her hands shall rest the choice. Deliver humanity by becoming what they fear most, or preserve her humanity and watch both worlds burn. To unite the broken, she must sever the bond. To save the light, she must embrace the shadow. She must sacrifice her human heart, or sacrifice everything. Kirsten read it again, and again. Her hands shook. No, she whispered. Adrian stepped closer. I'm sorry. It's asking me to choose, Kirsten said. Her voice cracked. To save humanity, I have to stop being human. Yes, I have to become fully vampire. Lose my empathy, my compassion, everything that makes me care about them in the first place. Yes, Kirsten dropped the scroll. It hit the floor. Didn't burn. Didn't fade. Just lay there, mocking her. So the prophecy isn't about salvation, she said. It's about damnation. Adrian didn't answer, because there was no answer. Kirsten turned. Her eyes blazed, not with power, with pain. Every Queen Lord before me. They chose power, didn't they? Adrian nodded. And they lost themselves, became tyrants, monsters, the very thing they were supposed to stop, and the ones who didn't choose power. Adrian's voice dropped. They watched the world burn, and then burned with it. Kirsten laughed, bitter, broken. So I'm damned either way. Not damned either way. Not damned, Adrian said. Tested. By who? She snapped. By fate? By prophecy? By some ancient magic that doesn't care if I suffer as long as I fulfill my purpose? Adrian didn't answer. Kirsten sank to her knees. Blood pooled around her, silver and red. Mixed. I didn't ask for this, she whispered. No one ever does, Adrian said. She looked up at him. What would you do? Adrian knelt beside her. I don't know, but I know this. You're not the Queen Lords who came before. You're something they weren't. What? Aware, Adrian said. You know the cost. You see the trap. And maybe that's enough. Maybe knowing changes the outcome. Or maybe it just makes the suffering worse, Kirsten said. Adrian had no answer for that, because she was right. Outside the forgotten chamber, Linnea Harris stood in the shadows. She'd followed them, watched, listened, and now she knew the second half of the prophecy, the choice, the sacrifice. She turned and walked away, silent as smoke, because the council needed to know. And once they did, the real war would begin. Not for power, for Kirsten Madden's soul. The Vampire Council convened at midnight. All of them. Elizur John, Juliet Kirsch, Julian Avils, Dejan Cervantes, Khalil Boyles, Blake G., and Linnea Harris, who brought the news. The second prophecy has been found, Linnea said. Her voice echoed in the chamber of echoes. Kirsten Madden knows. What does it say? Elizur asked. Linnea told them. Every word. When she finished, the room was silent. Then Juliet Kirsch smiled. Perfect, she said. Perfect, she said. She has to choose between losing her humanity or watching the world burn. How is that perfect? Because either way, she loses, Juliet said. If she becomes fully vampire, she'll be no different than us. No better. Just another tyrant. And if she refuses, she fails. The prophecy dies with her. And thousands die, Khalil said. They were going to die anyway, Juliet replied. At least this way, we control the narrative. Eliezer raised a hand. There is a third option. Everyone turned. We force her to choose, Eliezer said. Now, before she's ready, we invoke the trial by fire. The trial hasn't been used in centuries, Julian said carefully. Because we haven't had a Queen Lord in centuries, Eliezer replied. The trial will test her. If she survives, she proves her worth. If she doesn't, the prophecy ends. Cleanly. No war. No chaos. She'll refuse, Kalo said. She won't, Dejan said from the corner. Because if she refuses, we'll interpret it as cowardice, and the lesser houses will abandon her. She'll have no choice. Blakey, who'd been silent, finally spoke. You're going to kill her. We're going to test her, Eliezer corrected. It's the same thing, Blake said. Eliezer's eyes went cold. Then she should have stayed hidden. They came for her at dawn. 6 guards, silver chains. Kirsten didn't fight. She'd been expecting this. They dragged her to the grand hall. The same hall where she touched the chalice. But now, the floor was covered in fire runes. Ancient, unbreakable. The council stood in a circle around her. Eliezer stepped forward. Kirsten Madden, you have claimed the title of Queen Lord. You have touched the thorn-bound chalice and survived. But power alone does not make a ruler. You must be tested. I've already been tested, Kirsten said. Not by us, Juliet said. Her smile was sharp. The trial by fire will prove whether you are worthy or whether you are simply lucky. And if I refuse, Kirsten asked, then you forfeit your claim, Eliezer said, and we will hunt you as we hunt all pretenders. Kirsten looked around the room, at the council, at the guards, at the fire runes glowing beneath her feet. And she laughed, not because it was funny, because it was inevitable. "Fine," she said. "Light the fire." Eliezer nodded. The runes ignited. Flames shot up, white-hot, consuming. Kirsten screamed, not from pain, from transformation. Because the fire didn't burn her, it changed her. Her human blood boiled away. Her vampire blood surged. Her eyes turned crimson. Fully, permanently. And when the flames died, Kirsten Madden stood, unburned, but different, colder, stronger, more and less. She looked at Eliezer. "Satisfied?" she asked. Her voice had changed. Sharper, no warmth. Eliezer bowed his head. "All hail the Queen Lord," he said. One by one, the council knelt. Even Juliet, even Dejon, all except Khalil, because Khalil saw it, saw what the fire had taken. Her humanity, her empathy, the part of her that cared. She'd passed the trial, but she'd lost herself, and now standing there, crowned in ash and blood, Kirsten Madden wasn't their savior. She was their reckoning. They crowned her in silence. No celebration, no music, no joy, just the weight of a throne that had crushed every woman who'd sat on it before. The crown was bone. Carved from the first Queen Lord's skull, it felt cold against Kirsten's forehead, heavy, like wearing judgment. Eliezer John placed it there himself. "Rise, Queen Lord," he said. Kirsten stood. The grand hall was packed, every vampire house, every bloodline. Even the ones who'd sworn they'd never kneel. They knelt now. Because the trial had proven what words couldn't. She was real. And she was terrifying. Alonzo Thompson stood in the back. His face was stone, but his hands shook. Juliet Kirsch knelt beside Eliezer, her head bowed, but her eyes burned. Khalil Boyles didn't kneel. He just stared at what she'd become. Blake G knelt, but his tears fell silently, because he remembered her eyes before the fire. Silver, human, hopeful. Now they were crimson, cold, absolute. Kirsten scanned the room, her gaze sharp, clinical. "You wanted proof," she said. Her voice carried like a blade. "You have it. I am the Queen Lord, the prophesied one, the bloodline meant to unite vampire and human, to end the war, to restore balance." Silence. "But balance requires sacrifice," she continued, "and I have made mine." She stepped down from the throne, walked among them. Every vampire she passed lowered their eyes. "I will unite our worlds," Kirsten said. "Vampire and human. But not through mercy, not through hope. Through order." She stopped in front of Alonzo. He didn't move. "You mocked me," she said. Alonzo's jaw tightened. "I did. And you sent an assassin to kill me." "I did." Kirsten tilted her head. "Kneel." Alonzo's pride screamed, his blood raged, but his knees bent. Because he had no choice, Kirsten placed a hand on his head. Not gently, like claiming property. "You will serve me now," she said, "not because you believe, but because you have no other option. Refuse, and I will end your bloodline. Accept, and you live. Diminished, but alive." Alonzo's voice was a whisper. "I accept." Kirsten removed her hand, turned to the room. "This is the new order," she said. "Vampires will no longer hunt humans for sport. Humans will no longer cower in fear. We will coexist, or we will all burn." "And if the humans refuse?" Juliet asked from the floor. Kirsten's smile was ice. "Then they burn first." The room went cold. Khalil finally spoke. "You've become what they feared." Kirsten turned to him. "No, I've become what they needed. Fear is the only language both sides understand, so I will speak it fluently. This isn't what the prophecy meant, Khalil said. The prophecy didn't give me a choice, Kirsten replied. So I made my own. She walked back to the throne, sat. The crown glowed faintly in the torchlight. Send word to the human territories, Kirsten said. Tell them their Queen Lord has risen. Tell them I will meet with their leaders in 7 days. And tell them if they refuse, I will consider it an act of war. Eleazar bowed. It will be done. Kirsten leaned back. Alone. Powerful. Victorious. And empty. Because she'd saved the world by losing herself. And somewhere, deep in the part of her that used to be human, a voice whispered, "Was it worth it?" She silenced it. Because it had to be. It had to be. In the human territories, the message arrived at dawn. Dane read it aloud to the assembled leaders. When he finished, Alicia Ellison stood. "She's declared herself our ruler," Alicia said. "Without asking, without negotiating, she expects us to bow." "And if we don't?" Xander asked. Alicia's eyes were hard. "Then we fight." "We can't win," Brendan said quietly. "Then we die free," Alicia replied. Colleen stood. "Or we meet with her, hear what she has to say." "She's not our savior," Alicia said. "She's our conqueror." "Maybe," Colleen said. "Or maybe she's the only thing standing between us and extinction." The room divided. Half wanted war. Half wanted peace. And in the middle, little Claire whispered, "Is she still the one who stops the monsters?" No one answered, because they didn't know anymore. Far from the vampire stronghold, far from the human territories, in a place that existed between shadows and memory, someone watched. The figure was old. Older than Eleazar. Older than the prophecy. Older than the first wars. They sat in a chamber carved from stone that predated civilization. Candles that never burned out. A throne that no one living remembered. Before them, a pool of water. But it wasn't water. It was vision, reflection, truth. And in it they watched Kirsten Madden sit on her throne, crowned in bone, eyes burning crimson. The figure smiled, not with warmth, with inevitability. "She thinks she's fulfilled the prophecy," the figure said. Their voice was neither male nor female, neither young nor old. Just ancient. They reached into their robes, pulled out a second scroll. This one wasn't burned. Wasn't hidden. It was pristine. Waiting. They unrolled it. Read words written in a language that hadn't been spoken in 1,000 years. "Poor child," the figure whispered. "You've only activated the first seal. There are 6 more. They set the scroll down, stood. Their shadow stretched across the walls. Not like a shadow should. It moved independently. Hungrily. "The Queen Lord rises," the figure said, "and with her the old ones stir. The forgotten gods wake. The wars that ended the first age will begin the last." They walked to the edge of the chamber, looked out into darkness that went on forever. Kirsten Madden, half human, half vampire, prophesied savior. The figure laughed, soft, sad. "Knowing. You think you've sacrificed everything, but you haven't sacrificed anything yet." They turned back to the pool, watched as Kirsten sat alone on her throne, the weight of 2 worlds pressing down. "Let's see if you survive what comes next," the figure said. And in the pool, the vision shifted, showed something rising from beneath the earth. Something vast, something hungry, something that had been sleeping for millennia, waiting for the Queen Lord to wake it. The figure smiled again. "The prophecy was never about saving the world," they said. "It was about ending it." They walked back into the shadows and disappeared. But their words lingered. Like smoke. Like poison. Like truth. And far away in her throne room, Kirsten Madden felt it. A chill. Not from the air. From something deeper. something that whispered in the back of her mind. You were never the hero. You were always the catalyst, and if you've made it this far, if you've watched her rise and fall and rise again, if you need to know whether she's the savior or the apocalypse, then you're already part of this. You're already in too deep to stop now, because part 2 isn't just coming, it's inevitable. And what Kirsten faces next will make everything she survived look like mercy. So stay close, because when the old ones wake, the only question that matters is whether anyone, human or vampire or something else entirely, survives the reckoning she's unleashed. This is just the beginning, and beginnings are always the cruelest part. The candles in the throne room flickered. Once, twice, and went out. The end of part 1, The Mocking.